One of the key issues with the inauguration is who's going to show up.
Yeah.
And as you know, a lot of Democratic Congress members are saying, no, we're making a protest, we're not going to show up. Not so Congressman Adam Schiff, who joins us this morning to talk about that. Before we get to that, where were you yesterday?
I was in Iraq for the last few days and had a chance to visit our troops, some of the most incredible, courageous Americans I've ever met, and they're doing an amazing job.
Wow. And then after you're done with us, you're heading off to D.C. for the inauguration.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
What is the pressure for you?
Well, people feel so passionately about this election. I can't tell you how many hundreds of constituents who have told me they're losing sleep, they're finding it hard to eat, they're so upset about the election and what a Trump presidency means. And a lot of folks are urging members to boycott the inauguration, and I'm deeply sympathetic, believe me. I'm not looking forward to it on the one hand, but I also feel that it's more about the presidency itself, about the peaceful transfer of power. And both parties participate regardless of who wins. And I would have a very hard time after criticizing Donald Trump for saying he might not accept the results of the election if he lost, then turning around and not attending because my candidate lost.
Does it seem, though, childish not to attend? How would you have felt if Republican Congress members wouldn't go to Obama's inauguration, for instance?
I would have been upset if they boycotted President Obama and what that would have meant in terms of not accepting the first African-American president. So, I can't persuade myself it's the right thing to do. I respect my colleagues who have made different decisions. In fact, one of the people I admire most in the Congress, John Lewis, has decided not to attend. But for me, after condemning Donald Trump for saying he might not accept the results of the election if he lost, I thought that was appalling. That's just not what our democracy is about.
Acknowledge he won fair and square under the Electoral College system. He did win.
He won.
Yeah.
He won.
So,
and I have great differences about how he ran his campaign and some of the appeals to the fringe right, the Russian meddling in the campaign, but nonetheless, he won the election, and I have to respect the outcome, much as I wish it were otherwise. I would rather devote my energy to fighting the policy changes he wants to bring about that might end up throwing tens of millions of people off health care and a variety of other things he's proposing. I'd rather put my energy into that than boycotting the transfer of power.
But you're going to get the heat regardless, because that's just how it works.
That's how it works. Comes with the territory.
Yeah, exactly. So yesterday, President Obama gave his last news conference and set a different kind of a tone. What was your takeaway from it?
Well, history is going to be very kind to him, and we're already seeing this is a president who's going out with 60% approval ratings. When is the last time you saw an outgoing president with approval ratings 20% or more higher than the incoming president? And I think it's partly because he has been such a gentleman. He's been such a civil, optimistic, uplifting leader. I just watch him, and I think it's going to be a long time before we see his like again in that office.
Something caught my attention during this news conference. He seemed to be sending a message to the press, to the reporters, to just, stay on top of things, don't let things get off track. I say this because word has come out that Donald Trump and his staff is considering moving the press corps to a different location in the White House, but a different room, a bigger room, because they say they have massive demand. We're talking about now including bloggers, perhaps TV personalities, talk show hosts to be part of the press corps. What do you think of that? That's a big shift and change.
It is. I think it's really what's going on is this. If you watch the last press conference that Donald Trump did, he needs a cheering section, which is not usually what you have in the White House press corps, but he needed people applauding his statements, and when he was bashing news outlets that didn't support his point of view or were critical in their coverage of him, there were people applauding. That's really not how it's done, but I think the president-elect needs that kind of constant affirmation.
Congressman,
and that's why he's doing this.
That plays to his crowd, to his supporters, but it's not his crowd anymore. It's America. You can't govern the same way you run.
That's exactly right. We're a very divided country. expect the president-elect to reach out to those who didn't support him. After all, a majority of Americans did not vote for him. Hillary Clinton got, in fact, about 3 million more votes than he did. But that's not his approach at all. Everything he has done, the appointments he's choosing, the statements he's making, the tweets he's tweeting, are all very divisive and only appeal to the base.
I want to get back to pressure. Are you getting texts and phone calls from fellow members of Congress, from members of the DNC saying, don't go?
Not from members of Congress. I think each individual member is making their own decision, but I'm certainly hearing from a lot of constituents and people around the country.
Are they angry with you?
Some are angry. Some don't want me to go to the inauguration. Others, are much more, tell me what I can do. That's the predominant response I'm getting, which is, I want to get involved. I need to get involved. I'm so desperately worried about the direction of the country. What can I do? How can I help you in your work? How can I do things on my own?
And what do you say?
What I've been urging people is it's empowering to get involved. So whatever issue you care most about, if it's climate change or health care, link up with other people that care about that. Figure out ways that you can move the needle and make a difference. And you not only will make a difference, but it also prevents the kind of depression and gloom from setting in that results when you feel powerless to bring about any change.
All right, you got a plane to catch.
I do.
Wow.
You're ready for the inauguration.
Safe flight.
Maybe we'll talk to you when you're there. Okay.
Very good.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Congressman
so much
Adam
for coming
Schiff.
in. I know you're majorly jet lagged.
All right.